In this video, we're going to look at how to convert several Excel spreadsheets and turn them into a fully working database application. We're going to have pages where you can manage all of the companies. This is going to be for an investment management portal where you'll have all the companies and be able to track all the investments and all the partners and the founders that are associated with each investment. You'll be able to add companies and also see a dashboard view of what's going on the day-to-day basis. You'll be able to see details about each partner in the firm and all of the investments that they made. And by the time we're finished this, you'll be able to build your own database application. So let's dive right in and get started. We're going to start with a blank app. You can see here I have another app for a job board. This is for a previous video that we made. You can check out that video if you're interested. We are going to start with a new app, and we will call this one Investment Management. Let's give this a cool, funky icon. We'll make a $sign, and let's make it green for money. One of our goals in this app is to convert our Excel spreadsheets into fully functional app. And let's look at our spreadsheets to understand better what our app's supposed to look like at the end based on how our data is currently structured. So you can see we have one spreadsheet here called partners. This is all of the partners are going to be logged in to the app to be able to make and update changes to their investments. Now these are people that work for our company, so we're going to be using a fictitious company. I'm actually using some real data, some not, some I just kind of tweaked, but I needed somewhere to start, so I'm using some of this data. So this will be the partners, and you can see here we have a bunch of columns, their names, their titles, some links, their email and bio, and things like that. And then the next one we have is the companies. This is all of the companies that this firm invested in or is considering investing in. And you can see that we have the company name, the description, the link. This is going to be an image URL. This is the logo for each of these companies, the investment. And if this company was ultimately acquired, we have another category for that. Finally, we also have the investments, and this is each investment that was given to each company, the date, the amount, and which stage of investment it was, as well as which partner oversaw that investment. There is one more table for the founders. Here we just have a table of all the founders and which company they belong to. Just made these columns a little bit bigger so you could see what the actual data here is. So you can see the name of the founder and the company that they're associated with. This company must match exactly the name of the company that's in the company's table. And when we import this data, it will automatically match it and make sure that it lines up correctly. So let's get started. Our first table we're going to do is upload our companies table into the app. So I'm going to click here, add table. Now, you could also do upload your CSV, but I will just choose add table. And I'm going to click import CSV. And here I can choose the companies table. I'm going to click open, and here I'll give it a name. Let's give it an icon. Okay, and now we'll click save. Now our next item would be to line up the columns with the type of fields that they are. So for example, the name of the company is just a simple text field, while the description is likely a long text. And the link will be a link, which we will choose by scrolling down and selecting link URL. And the image URL, this is going to be the photo of the logo, the actual picture of the logo. Investment is going to be a radio, so you can choose if it's either a seed or Series A, Series B. And finally, acquisitions will be the last field, which is a basic text field. Let's go ahead and click save. And what's going to happen now behind the scenes is going to import every one of these records. It's going to download the logo from wherever the source is and then upload it to our image hosting. So that took about 7-8 seconds, and once that's done, if you go to the Records tab, you can now see all of the names of the companies, the descriptions, the links, and all the information that we just uploaded. So now we can move forward by going to the page builder, and for this we're going to just add a list of our companies, And a list is just one of the ways you can display your data. Now, if you actually preview this page by clicking on the preview button or on the eyeball icon on the top, it'll open up in another page and you'll see it's going to look quite messy, not quite what we have in mind. So let's go ahead and make this look a little nicer. So we're going to go back in the builder, open the companies list, and we're going to, let's remove the URL, the image URL, and let's remove the investment. We'll keep this a little bit clean. And under the layouts, we want to choose a bordered box. We want the border to be all around, and the border width should be 1 pixel. And we want the image URL to be the cover on the top. And you'll see in 1 second what that means. Also want a nice little icon, border color. Finally, we want it to be 3 columns, and we want it to show 9 records per page. So now when we click save and we refresh our page, we're going to have a much nicer looking page. So far we took our very basic spreadsheet with all of the companies and turned it into a nice looking list. Now we're going to continue, and as we continue adding data, we're going to update our page to make it look nice with the new data. Now the next thing we probably want to track would be which investments went into which company. So if you can recall, we have the investments spreadsheet, and this has the name of the company, the date, the amount that was given, and the stage, also the partner. Now this partner is going to be the users that are logged into the app, and they're going to be the ones associated with each investment. So what we want to do before we add the investments is actually add the partners into the app so we can actually connect it and map it correctly. So what we'll do next is we'll actually import the partners. So we'll go into the users and we'll go to the imports, and we have a users import template. We're going to customize this. So here you can see we have the name, the password, email status, and role. We also want to add some additional fields here to be able to import. Now import templates, if you're not familiar with what they are, I'd highly recommend you watch the 2-minute video explaining what import templates are. But otherwise, just a brief bird's eye view, it's a way of letting you create a template that you can automatically import records without having to map all the fields each time. So for example, here we're saying map everything in the name field in the database to everything that's in the name column in the CSV. So here we have inside the partners table, we have a name field. So we're saying map this to that column. So we just need some additional columns. So I'm going to go into the fields and add some columns. We'll say this will be title. Let me see what else we had. We also had an image. This will be a profile image. What other columns did we have here? Twitter, LinkedIn, and bio. So those will be links. So we're going to miscellaneous link. This will be Twitter. LinkedIn, and the bio will be a long text because it's going to be more than 256 characters likely, so we're going to call it bio. I do believe that's all the fields we have here. Status will make it active, and then role, we should probably add these roles first as well. So we're going to go back into the roles table, and we're going to have new roles. So let's see which roles here we have. We have managing partner. I'm just copying and pasting this to save some time. Partner, advisor, and venture partner. Okay, so now we have all the same roles that we have in this spreadsheet. We also have it as a role inside our database. So now we could import all of these records without any issues. Let's go back into the records. Now you could also just import directly from here. You don't have to use an import template. In fact, I'll actually do that because it's a little bit quicker for this. If we're only doing this one time. So we're going to say we want to import a regular import. I'm going to choose the CSV file. We want it to be the the partners, and keep all those as default. We're going to say the name will be the name, the title, Twitter, LinkedIn. This will be the email. Now the email field will be how these people log into the app. And bio. We're actually going to skip the image for now. Seems like these got unchecked for some reason. And status will include. And finally, the password. Obviously, we don't recommend you putting these types of passwords in. And there are password policies you could implement inside the user settings, which will ensure that that doesn't happen. We're going to go ahead and save. You can see the log. It looks like everything was saved correctly. And here we have our columns. We didn't do the profile image. I will do that later. So now that we have our users who are going to be using this app, which we call here our partners, but inside Tadabase they're going to be users, meaning they're going to be able to log in to this app by going to log in, and then we can restrict specific access based on each user. So we're going to now import all of the investments, and we can line up each investment to each user. So in the data builder, we'll add a new table. We'll call this investments, and we'll import a CSV. Let's give us an icon as well. We can just leave the description blank for now. Now here's where you have to pay a little bit of attention to make sure you line it up correctly, because you want to make sure that the connection fields line up to the right columns in the right table. So for example, here we have the name. This is the name of the company that we invested in. So we want to make sure we connect it to the name of the company in the companies table. So here we have a connection to companies. We want to choose connection to companies. And here we have that this is just a regular date field. Amount is a currency. Stage again will be a radio field. And partner, we wanted to connect it to the user's name. This is the partner that's actually logged into the app. Now let's go ahead and save this. And let's preview our records. And you can see the partner, this is going to connect to the users table. And then the companies as well is going to connect to the companies table. So now that we've imported our users and our investments, we can now see more details about each company based on the investments that were made. So we'll go to the page builder, and inside the companies list table, we'll add a link to view the record details page. And the reason for this is we want that when we see our companies, we'll have a details page where we can see all the investments that were made in this company. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh this page, click details, and now I can see more details about this company. So now we're on Misfit. Now inside this company page, we want to see all the investments that were made. So we'll go back into the details page that was just created, and we're going to add a new row. And again, we're making the assumption here that you're familiar somewhat with the database and the builder. If not, we have a whole video series explaining a little bit more about each part of the builder, all the menu items, how the page builder is structured. There's also videos on the side that I highly recommend you watch. And what we're doing now is we're on the details page of a company, and we want to see a table of all of the investments. So we're going to add a new table. And we said we want to see the records connected to this page, and we want to see the investments. And let me just reiterate why we're choosing this option. We want to see, we're right now on the Misfit page, and we want to see the investments that were specifically given to this investor, to this company. So we're going to customize it. We'll put in some information, and we'll clear the title. Let's go ahead and save that. Refresh the page, and now you can see we have, for Misfit, there's been 2 investments on these dates for these amounts and these stages. I'm going to organize this top of the page a little bit to make it look a little neater. So I've done this in some other videos as well. Essentially, you're just opening up that component, and I'm going to shrink the columns and just put things into 2 different sides. So we'll put something like this. That'll just break up the page a little bit, make it look a little nicer. One last thing, I'm going to move the logo all the way to the right side. So I'll just do this a little bit. I'll add one more column, and we'll put the logo in that last column over there to make it look a little clean. Let's go ahead and save. And every time you do any saving over there, you have to make sure you refresh. I'm just going to remove the title from this. And now you can see we have a very basic page where we have all the details about this specific company, as well as the investments that were made in each company. We go to any company's page by clicking on the details page, and you can see the same information. Now you could see in the details of each investment, you could see who the partner was for that particular investment. So here we have Austin and David. They were both partners who dealt with each of these investments. And we want to do next is actually see the details about each partner and also be able to see all the investments that each partner made. So we're going to go back into here and we're going to add a new page. We'll call this Partners. We'll choose to add it to the default layout and to the default menu. So basically what we're saying is use the same layout as this page and also add it to the top menu, which is right here at the top. We have a menu. We want to say add this page called Partners to that menu. And you'll see now when we refresh this page, we have a new menu item here called Partners. We don't have anything on this page, so it'll be blank. But you do see that there is a menu. That menu represents the layout. And that's when we added it, we chose the default layout. So here we want to have a table. I guess we can do a table. You can do different, whatever different view you like, but I think tables makes the most sense for this one. We'll do a table of all of the, we want to show the default, we want to see the users. Now it's called users here, but it's we're using it for partners. And we're going to choose the name, the email, their status, their role, and their title. We also want a details page for each of these users, and we'll title this Partners. If we refresh the page, you can see all of the partners. Now I can go into the details of each of these partners. So let's go into David's page. And we can see all the information about David. Now on the bottom of this page, we want to see all of his investments. So we're going to go do the same thing that we did in the company's details page, except we'll do that here again. We'll add a new grid of 12, and we'll say add a table of all of the investments that this investor made, that this partner made. So records connected to this page. We want to see the name of the investment, the date, the amount, the stage, and the partner. Now again, when we refresh the page, we could see all the investments that David has made while he's at this company. As you can see here, we have the name of the company that the investment was made in, and we're only seeing the investments that were made by David. So if we wanted to actually see all of the other investors that were involved in this investment, we can technically just go into companies, find that company, and then see more details about it, or we can link directly from here. So we'll go full circle without having to go and find that company. So I'm going to go back into the investments data table. We'll open up the left navigation and we say we want a connected page. We want to see the company's details page. And let's just make this a little nicer. We'll format this as a button. I'll make it outline and we'll call this. Now here we're not adding a new page, we're simply linking from this page directly to this to this company. And you can see now when we click on more details, it takes us to this company and we can see the other investments. And chances are from this page also we can do the same thing. We want to see, let's say, all of other investments made by David or by Minnie. We could do that by going into the details page of this company. So over here we'll go to the companies, open up the details page for this company, and then inside the left navigation, we're going to do connected page. We'll say connect this to the partners details page. And here we'll call it partner. And again, we could format it as a button. This just adds a little bit of some aesthetics. And let's go ahead and refresh. And we could see partner details. So now we can go right to Minnie's page and see all of her other investments. And from here, we can go and see all of the other companies and each of their investments. So now we can go full circle. So we're now going to continue optimizing this app and making it a little bit easier to get some data at a glance. So one thing we'd like to do is whenever we're on a partners page, we want to know more information about each partner right from this page. For example, we want to know how many investments they've invested in and maybe even the total amount. So we're going to go back into the builder, and inside the users table, we're going to add a new field. So I just went to users and in the fields tab on the top. And here I'm going to add a new field. I'm going to say count. And we want to say total investments. We want to count all the records from the investments that are connected to this partner. And we're going to just go ahead and click save. What that did is added a new column. And you can see here total investment, and it has a summary of 7 for all the investments. We can then now go into the page builder. In the partners page, open up that table. So we're opening up this table right here, and we're going to add this new column into it. We don't want it to be the last column, so we're going to put it a little bit over and go ahead and refresh the page. You can now see the total investments. Each of these partners have 7 investments, and you can see that is the case. When you go into the details, you can see each of them have 7. That is, you can see here, that is the case. Let's also add a summary that sums up all the values for each of these partners so we could see the total that they invested in. And we'll do that again back in the data builder for the users. We're going to add a new field, and under the number, we want to do the sum. So we want to say total investment. Let's actually make that total invested. We want the total from the investments table and all of the amounts. So when you're doing a sum value, you need to sum up a numbered field. So in this case, we want to sum up the amount of the investment, and let's format it as a currency with the icon, with the dollar symbol in the beginning of it. Let's go ahead and click save. And again, we'll do the same thing. We'll add this back into the users table under total as total invested. Let's go ahead and click save. And again, you get the gist of it. You got to refresh, and you can see it looks like I did it as a suffix by accident. Let's go ahead and change that. We want this to be a prefix. So we want the dollar symbol before the money. And now you can see the total invested by each of these partners. And inside the details, we can do the same thing. We can add that same field here at the top by just opening up that partners page, opening up the details, and here we can add those columns. So let's just organize this a little bit again. I'm going to shrink this column, add a new column here, and we're going to put in total investment, total investments, and total invested. So we can see that on the side. Let's also move the social media icons to the right. Sorry, the social media links to the right. Let's move the bio right under the name, and the email will also put on the right side. We don't need to see the status or the role at this point or the profile image. Trying to keep it a little bit cleaner. And now when you refresh the page, you can see here's all the information. We're going to also add a total summary row on the bottom under the amount, so we can see the total invested right below the table. So we're going to do that by going to filters and grouping and add a summary row. We're going to call this total and click save. When you refresh the page now, you'll have the total invested here. Now, suppose, for example, we wanted to group them by their stage of investment, so seed or versus Series A. We can go into here, and there's actually 2 options. I'll show you both. The grouping, we could say group it by stage, and we could even add a color if we're doing multiple groupings. We could start it as collapsed and visible, and I'll show you what those options are in 1 second. Let's do that by actually, instead of telling you, let me show you. So you can see here we have seed and Series A, and for each of these, we'll have their own summary rows. Now, if you were to do some of those options in here, for example, if we started with collapsed, then what's going to happen is that when you refresh the page, it's automatically going to start with a collapse, so you can see how many are underneath each of these. And the other option here, I just want to show you what that is if you do it visible column. So if you could tell right now, the stage is not visible. We only see it on the top. If you select to show that column, it's going to also keep the stage as the column inside the table. And you can see here, stage is also inside this page. We're going to keep this, all of these settings we just changed, except for one thing. I want it to be expanded when it loads, so I'm not going to say collapsed. And you can also add filters. Filters, I'll show you what those are in another table to make it a little bit easier. So suppose, for example, in the companies table, let's just refresh this, make sure it works correctly. Okay, great. Suppose in the companies table, this is actually a list. Let's actually look at the partners page again. And suppose we want to filter this page based on the title. So we want venture partner, advisor, or managing partner to be filterable. We can easily do that by going to the partners page and opening that table. And inside the filters and groupings, I'm going to enable the filter, and I'm going to call this first item, we'll call it managing. And for this, we only want to show wherever the title is, and that's going to be managing partner. Let's go ahead and save this and refresh the page. And now you can see you have managing, and it's only going to show you the managing partners. And you can do that with each of these titles. So let's go ahead and do that quickly. Okay, let's go ahead and again, after we did all that, we could save it, and now you could see you can filter it based on each of these tabs on the top. Once we're at it, I might as well also show you that you can customize the colors for each of these tabs, and you can even add or hide, you can hide fields based on whatever tab was chosen. So for example, here we can set a color. So managing partner will be purple, green for the next ones, blue, and let's finally make this one orange and save. Let's go ahead and refresh. And now you can see it has some added color on the top. You could even choose to hide a column. So suppose, for example, if we choose advisor, we don't want to see, let's say their status. So we can go into the table and we could say inside of the filter groupings, we could say advisor, hide their status column. And let's save that, refresh the page. And you can see whenever we choose advisor, the status column is now hidden. We change it, status column comes back up, and we could clear the filters. You could even choose to not allow clearing the filters. So disable the clear filter tab, and you could even choose a default. So whenever the page loads, it'll open a specific link. So for example, we set the partner as a default, and we save that, and we reload the page. It'll always pull up when the page loads on the partner. That's enough about the filters and groupings. I just wanted to show you that quickly. Now we have this app that's totally wide open to the whole internet. We definitely don't want to do that. We don't want everyone to be able to see, which investments and all the different things that are going on. So let's now start getting into the user security. Now, what we want to do is we want to make sure, for example, a page like the partners is not visible to the whole world. Also, suppose we're okay with showing specific information about each of these companies, but we don't want to show the investments, for example. So we can do that with user security. And let's do that. Let's start with this page. So on this page, we have the company name, and then we have the investments. And this can be applied for many different reasons. For example, if you want to say you can't see all the investments unless you are a user of this app or you paid us a subscription fee or something like that, you can do that with security. And we'll do that by going into the companies, and inside the company details page, we have this new row with all the investment data, right? That's this row right here with all the investment data. We can go into the right here at the top of that row, edit it and say only for specific logged in users, and then we can choose which roles are allowed to see this. So for example, if I say only for default users, click save and refresh, I will no longer see that unless I log in and I'm also a default user. And suppose that role can be customers. Let's actually do that. If we go into the users roles, let's call it a new user called customers. We save that, and then we set the security on this page. We can set it to only customers can see this page. Also, assuming we also want our partners and venture partners, you can add multiple roles. But for now, we'll just keep it basic that only customers can see it. And then when you refresh, you'll still see that is gone now because I'm not logged in as a customer. So our main objective so far was to convert this Excel spreadsheets, all these spreadsheets, which I just realized I haven't actually imported the founders table. Let's do that quickly. We're going to go back into the data builder. We'll add a new table. We'll call it founders. And we're going to import the CSV with the founders. And for this, it's going to be person. Okay. And now in this column, we have the name of the company and the name of the user, of the founder, which will just keep as text field. And then the company, which will be a connection to the company's, the name, meaning this is the name field in the company's table. We want it to automatically map to that. And just by simply doing that, we added all of these records inside of the details of each company. I'm going to add a new 12 column grid to see, I'm going to add a new grid to see all of the founders for each of these companies. We'll customize it. We just want to see the founder's name. And let's refresh the page. And now we can see the founders are associated with this company. But as I was saying right before I imported the founders table, is that we still haven't really added much ways to actually add and edit data. So right now we took all our data from these spreadsheets and we put them into the app, and now we have them all here, but we don't really have any ways to edit them. So there's a lot of different ways you can go about this, and we're going to tackle one or two for now. Suppose we want to separate the adding from the actual pages. We can easily do that. So we can go into, let's say, the company's page, and let's actually add a new page, and we'll call this add company. We'll choose a default layout. We're not going to add it to the menu right now because when you add it to the menu, it automatically adds it to the top layer. We're going to want it to be a sub item of the companies, and we'll do that manually. So here we're going to do add company. We're going to add a form for companies, and we'll just do quick add. Now quick add just adds all the fields for you and makes it easy to get started with adding the field. Now if we refresh the page, we're not going to see that page because we didn't add it to the menu. It is here though. So technically if you want it to go, you can go to get the slug URL from the page and then change this and then reload it and you'll see that page. But instead we want it to show up underneath companies. So we're going to go into the default layout and we're going to open up the menu. Under the menu, let's shrink all of these guys. And under the menu, under companies, we're going to click the plus sign. I'm going to say add company. And here we want to open up the add company page. Let's even add an icon of plus. And let's go ahead and save that. Refresh the page. And now we have a new add company page, which guides us directly to this page. So now we've addressed how to add additional companies using the add form page. Suppose we actually wanted to edit some information. So let's say, for example, let's go into the details of a company, Misfit. Okay, so let's say we want to edit some information here. We can actually add direct inline editing to edit something or add additional pages to edit. So if you can recall, we just had a different table here with all of the investments, and we locked that down that only users that are logged in can view that. So for the purposes of this, I'm just going to undo that for a minute and we'll mark that as public. And let's refresh that. And now you can see this investment. So suppose, for example, we want to change the amount of the investment for this investment specifically. Let's figure out two ways how we can do that. First way is we can open up the investments data table and go to the options and do allow inline editing. Now, when we do that, it makes everything in this page editable. Everything in this table, I apologize, editable. So now you can see when you hover over it, you can see the amount. You could click on it and make an update to how much was invested. And you can see that updates right away in real time. Now that's one way to do that. There's no way to secure this inline editing based on roles. So we don't recommend doing this unless you already secured the app or the row or the page. So the wrong users don't make any changes. Another thing you can do is actually create a new page that allows you to edit. So I could go into the investments page, right? So I'm back in this table again, and I'm going to click on the links and edit link. When I save that and refresh, now we have an edit link next to this one, and we click on it. We can now make any changes we want to make. So let's say we put this back to 150,000, move it to seed round and click save. When you go back, it saves it and pulls it right back to this page. If you notice, when we clicked edit, it routed us to another page. I know some users don't like that. So you can also, if you'd like, open up the table, open up the edit column, and then say show in a pop-up. And let's save that. Now when we refresh, click on edit, it opens up a nice little pop-up, and let's make another change, click save, and now it saves it and closes the pop-up. Now we'll continue by customizing and adding our default landing pages. So what the users are going to see when they first come on the page. Whenever you create a new app, there's automatically a default landing page, and you can see that's the default page because it has that star, and that's changed here in the settings of each page. You can choose which is the default landing page. And what that essentially means is that suppose you have a custom domain. If you put in a custom domain here for your app, when someone goes to that, whatever you set as the default page will be what's loaded first. In our case, the default landing page is here. So when you click preview investment management on the very top right, that's automatically going to open up the default landing page, which is what comes, pre-built with every Tadabase app. We can go ahead and just delete this. We don't need this right now. Now, if you delete this, you're going to see that when you preview your investment management app, it's going to say 404 page not found. So it's very important to have a default landing page. Otherwise, that won't be found. So I'm going to add a new page. We'll call this home. We'll add this to the default layout. And in this page, I think we should have a chart. So we can show a pie chart of the investments. And we're going to want to know the investments by the stage, by the total number of records. Let's refresh so we can see what that kind of looks like. And here we have a new page. Let's make this a default landing page. So again, when somebody loads the page, it should show them this page. So now when we load it, we can see the investments based on this stage. Let's also add a chart on the right side or below it. We'll see how it looks to see all the actual investments. We're going to go back to this home page. Let's shrink this column a bit. We're going to want to do it side by side. So here we're going to add a new column on the right side. We'll expand this to the full width of the page. Now these video guides here, as you probably have seen in some other videos, you can hide that if you need more room by just going to the settings and clicking hide help window. So now when you go back to the page builder, you'll have more room to work with it. So now on the right side, I'll also, let's say I want to see a bar chart of all of the investments by their stage. So we'll say group it by the stage and then do the total amount. Let's refresh. Now we can see the total investments for each stage that's been through this company. Let's go ahead and save that. And again, when we refresh the page, here we could see whatever we want to see based on the amount, how many investments per stage and how much invested in each stage. Now the way our app is currently set up, any user can sign up, and even if we restrict pages, if they're allowed to just sign up on their own, that can be a security issue. So just be sure to go into the settings, the user settings, and over here you can just disable the user registration so nobody could sign up for your app without your consent. Keep in mind, if you do want to secure the app, you could do that through several different ways. I showed you earlier how you can do it through the rows and permissions, but you can also do it through the pages. And here you can do that. Open up any page and you can say, who can view this app, this page, and you can choose only logged in users or users in specific user roles. You could even add page rules to say that if somebody comes to a certain page and certain criteria is met, for example, if the user is a specific role, then automatically reroute them or show a message or redirect them to another website. And you can even add further conditions. We'll get into that later in this video. I'm going to add 2 or 3 more features in this app, and then we're going to finish this first part of this video. So back on the home page or landing page, we're going to add a new row, and just to add some more data at a glance, so we can have some beautiful reporting right when we come on the site. We're going to add some cards. So I added a new row with 3 columns, and here I'll add a new component. We'll call this one, we'll use a card for this one. And here, let's just add some summaries so we can see, for example, the total companies. So we want to say the count the total records. We don't need to auto refresh. Auto refresh will just simply, do a refresh every little bit. But here we just want to see the total records, the total companies, and we'll title this companies. Now you have a lot of different settings you could do here to make it look as nice as you like. Adding custom headers and footers and all the different stuff in the content. We're going to just leave this somewhat basic for now so we can preview it and then make the changes like that. And we're going to go back here, preview this page. And now you can see we have companies 32. And let's do some other summaries like total investments and total founders. So another card with the investments. And that should be good for this one. And let's say we do total founders, or let's do total manager, total users, meaning total partners. And you can even add conditions. You can say only count where the title is managing partner. So let's just change it. I'm not exactly sure why you'd want to know this kind of data, but I'm just trying to show you here how you can customize and add cards and summaries and tables and stuff like that anywhere you'd like, and customize it however you want it to appear on the page. So far, everything we've designed has been using a fixed layout, which means that it's not taking up the full width of the page. You can see on the right and left, we have some white space. You can easily customize that by opening up any row and setting it to fluid. And what that will do is only set that one specific row to fluid. So you can see now this shows up all the way very wide, while this does not. I'm going to change that. I just wanted to show you that because it seems to be very much necessary in certain apps where you have a lot of data to display. Okay, the last thing is we're going to add this page to the menu up top. So we're going to do that by going to the default layout, opening up the menu, and adding a new menu item. We'll call this home, or let's actually make it dashboard. And we'll link it to the home page. We want to add an icon of dashboard. Let's do this one. And let's move it to on top of the company. So it should be before the companies. And now we have our dashboard page, our companies, and our partners. This will conclude the first part of this video. In our next video, we'll dive deeper and keep building up this application. And hopefully after 2 hours of development, you should be able to have a fully working dashboard to manage all investments, all investors, and all of the partners, as well as add and track tasks, which we'll do in the next video. Finally, I just wanted to point out that there are many videos you can visit and see on YouTube to watch and understand different parts of working with the platform. Each video is generally under 2 to 3 minutes and will explain to you specific features in depth with some great visual help. We also have a support forum where you can go and ask your questions, see some solutions, And as always, you can email us at support@tadabase.io, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you have.